Welcome to Let's Talk Brock.
All right, welcome to this episode of the Let's Talk Brock podcast. I'm your host, Liam Nielsen, and today I am delighted to be joined by a fellow Brock Sport Management student, the biggest Toronto Maple Leafs fan I know, and the host of the Brock Sport Management Council podcast, Will Ord. Will, how you doing today? Pleasure to have you on the show.
Liam, it's an absolute pleasure to be on the on the show with you, buddy. I tell you, you're on my pod as a host back earlier in the year. So a little bit of a role reversal, but it looks like you've established yourself as as one of the marquee hosts on this podcast. Not a big deal. So again, great to be on, and great to share my story so far at Brock U.
Yeah, man. Thanks for hopping on the show. I can only hope to be as half the podcast host that you are, but I'm working my way to it. I'm trying my best. But in the end of the semester now, how's exam season going for you?
We're as we're recording this, I hate to predate podcast, but as we're recording this, I just finished up my exams, so I am relaxing at my place for the time being, and just soaking up the last couple days of the year. But I'm happy that all the grunt work, so to speak, is out of the way, and fingers crossed that the marks are acceptable too.
I'm sure they will be. I'm sure you always get very strong marks from what I know of you. But you're out of the woods. That's good to hear. I think one of the important things to keep in mind during these busy times of year is like, why are we doing this in the first place, right? Why are we at Brock? Why are we studying sport management? Because we're both SPMA students. We're both in our third years. So I like to look back and think, think back to grade 10, grade 11 when we were making that decision. What led us to Brock? What led us to sport management in the first place? So I'd be really curious to hear, like, how'd you get here, basically? Why sport management for you?
Man, that's a long story, but I'm gonna try and give you guys the Cliff's Notes version here. I mean, with Brock, I knew. I mean, there are main reasons why people come to the program. There's the main stereotypical reason you hear is the alumni, Kyle Dubas, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, I mean, I think what I sort of focused on was the environment that the university was in, along with the environment outside of the university. I'm as I was walking around during the fall tours and Smart Start, I sort of started to feel that Brock was its own little village within the city. It just seemed aesthetically nice to be around, and the region that it's in directly appealed to me. It is a big-ish area in terms of population, but a fair amount of pockets have that nice homey small town vibe that I could really get behind. And the track record of the sport management program spoke for itself. So I felt it was time to place my bets on Brock U, and I'm glad that I made that decision 3 years after the fact.
Yeah, this definitely seems like the right decision for you. I know, just knowing you for the last few years, you're always sort of in and around the program. Pretty much anything sport management related, you can count on Will Ord being involved, right? So it seems like you've really embraced it, which is awesome to see. And I'm glad you think you made the right choice. So speaking about the sport management program itself, in your experience, what do you think makes it unique from other programs?
Well, look at the SPMA program. There is so much you can take from it. In terms of class content, it's not just let's talk about sports. There's a bunch of areas that get covered that as a first year going into the program, you don't even realize. Like you get into you get into your general stuff, like what sport management is, the sectors, but then you also get into such as advanced marketing, sponsorship, globalization of sport, even advanced sport finance, et cetera, et cetera. So you get those business aspects that you would receive in a business program, but with a sport twist. Now, outside the program is, where SPMA is really effective is that, it's able to give students a lot of opportunities outside the classroom to, spread their wings a bit, gain new skills through experiences they may have not considered, and make new friends and connections along the way that they can use professionally and personally. So there's a lot of benefits, but it just counts on the person inside the program to take advantage of what SPMA has to offer. I know that because of COVID, it's sort of limited right now, but the opportunities that are out there, if you can figure out that it's your responsibility to take those opportunities when they're available, then you'll have a way better experience in the program than someone who just does the status quo.
Yeah, that's a great point. I always say the sport management program shines in two areas. And number one is that you can really specify and pick the track that you want to study. Obviously, in your first year, you're learning some foundational stuff, but then as you go along in your years, you can start to sort of specify and figure out exactly what you want to study, which is kind of what you touched on. And then the other way is outside of the classroom with all of our experiential learning components. Obviously, every program at Brock does have some form of experiential learning, so that's great there. And just the alumni and the professors that we have provide a great resource for sport management students as well. Now you're talking about seizing opportunities and just going and grab it, taking the ball and run with it. One ball that you have taken and absolutely sprinted with was the Brock Sport Management Council podcast. Do you want to touch a little bit about how that podcast was started, sort of where it's at today?
So I actually didn't. So here's the funny thing. I actually didn't even start the show. A good friend of mine that I've gone to know real well. Ethan Crystal, who is the outgoing SPMA Council President 2020-2021. He started back in 2019, and I joined the council in March of 2019, and he mentioned he needed help running the podcast because he was going on exchange to LSU. I instinctively threw up my hand after the meeting, told him that I'd be interested, and I knew nothing about podcasts, editing, hosting, literally anything you could ask me about podcast lingo, I would have drawn a blank and said, "Huh?" But I was thrown right into the fire when we interviewed Danielle Henry, who was at MLSC, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment at the time, and we were told, okay, yeah, you're going to Scotiabank Arena to do the podcast, and we're like,
Oof,
okay, here
right
we
into it.
go.
Yeah, look, I mean, the passion you have for the SPMA Council podcast, it really shines through, I think, in each and every episode. You guys have done some phenomenal work here in season 2 of the podcast, hit some big milestones, which is fantastic. And look, I think the heights that you've grown the podcast to in the last couple of years are pretty remarkable. And it really goes back to one of my favorite sayings, which is where there's a will, there's a way. Am I right?
Dad joke alert. Dad
Dad
joke
joke
alert.
alert.
Have the
Anyway, moving on.
have this guy host your host comedy hours, and you will not be disappointed. Dad
I
jokes galore, folks.
I think I might be better off at the 5 p.m. bingo night for the seniors.
This
But
guy.
moving on into the next little set of questions we have here. We're both members of the Brock Sport Management Council. Obviously, the podcast is sort of a derivative of the council, but in terms of the council in general, it's basically a student group with faculty support that runs every year, hosts a bunch of different events. You've been involved with the council since your second year. So, what's been the most rewarding spot for you?
Man,
Sort of outside the podcast, I guess.
I mean, outside the podcast, it's just, again, in building meaningful relationships with people. When you join a club, you look at their events, and you're like, oh, I'd love to be a part of that. I'd love to be a part of that. And SPMA Council specific, we do networking events. We've done trivia nights, a bunch of stuff to engage students. But the real benefit from it is going into the weekly meetings and being able to sit down, discuss, and chill a little with 24 other fantastic individuals who have similar goals and aspirations, as you do. And when people join a club, they don't really realize that the relationships you build are the most rewarding parts. But I'm entering my third year with the club now, and just the relationships and meaningful experiences I've built from that are just irreplaceable. And if you're listening to this and you're applying to Brock, and you see a club that you want to be in, regardless if you're in SPMA or not, just go for it. Because if you go for it and take advantage of it, it's going to be an amazing experience that's going to enrich your time here at Brock.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. I mean, just get out there, get involved. There's a number of different clubs available at Brock. That's everything from academic based to interest based to you can even go start your own club if you want. There's all kinds of opportunities there. And like you said, the bonds and the relationships that you build through those clubs are pretty important. So great piece of advice there. Now we're gonna go rapid fire here just to close out the show.
Got it.
We got a few questions loaded up here, so try to keep up. I'm gonna go pretty quick on you, but obviously
Okay. All right. Let's see.
What's next for you after graduation? Where are you looking to take your sport management degree?
Well, after graduation, I've got a volunteer opportunity lined up with the 2022 Canada Games. I'm a media lead there, so that's gonna be a great experience. We're still in the planning phases, but I think that things will heat up after in the fall of 2021, and after that, we're in a position now, I guess, with COVID, where there's the job market is starting to restart again, but there's still a lot of uncertainty around a lot of things in the sport industry. So, my answer is I don't like to look that far ahead. My focus now is just controlling what I can control. And right now it's at Brock. So I'm controlling how I can better myself both as a person and a professional to present myself as a viable candidate to take over any entry level position in a variety of fields in the sport industry, whether it be sales, sponsorship, partnerships, or even event management.
That's a great answer. University is all about setting yourself up for post-graduation, really. So you're just building on those skills. That's awesome. I think you're going about it in a really great way. Final question here I have on the list that I'm going to throw at you. What is your favorite spot on Brock's campus, and why is that your favorite spot?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Man. There's a lot of interest. There's a lot of spots that sort of pique my interest. But they're I mean, it's funny because like none of them have to none of them are none of them are inside spaces. A lot. So my favorite two spots are the trails that go around the Brock campus, and Alumni Field, where the rugby and lacrosse teams play. Alumni Field, just a great spot. When it's open, you can toss a football around on the field, toss a soccer ball around. So it's another great spot to get active. And the trails are probably one of the more underrated parts of Brock, because you're walking down there, you're actually on the escarpment, and on a clear day you can look across, you can see Lake Ontario and even a clear view of downtown Toronto, and then even my hometown of Mississauga. So those are my two favorite spots.
Those are some great picks for sure. Will, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your Brock experience with us. I appreciate it.
No problem, Liam. It was a great time. Cheers, buddy.
Great to see you. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, you can contact us by email at futurestudent@brocku.ca.